Here, sir, is the name of our episode tonight.
Remember, you are my number one guy. Yes, sir.
Now, that of course was the wonderful Jack Nicholson line from the Batman, or rather Batman 1989, because that's why I wanted to play that, because as soon as we sat down, I was like, oh, that's got to be the name of the episode. Because all I could picture was you. The reason why this is funny for us is because Jay, years ago, said this to one of our subordinates.
Yes, I did.
And it scared the fuck out of the poor kid.
yes, it did. Because he had no idea what I was referencing when I did it.
And I'm laughing so hard I'm about peeing myself.
But I had given the kid a mission, something to do. Not
Now, this is in the service, by the way.
This is in the service, and it wasn't like we were stateside. So
yeah, it's not like we were anything
don't
interesting.
Don't imagine like we were in Iraq.
We were at work.
We were like, it was a normal day at work. Like nothing's happening. I just gave this guy just this, like, go relieve somebody, go to the bathroom, just something simple like that. And I just grabbed him like, you are my number one. guy.
And I think you waited till I walked out there. You were outside in the smoking area. It said no smoking.
Yeah, you had.
I think I was there. I'm pretty sure I was there.
No, you were there.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have done it if I didn't have a witness.
Exactly, because it would have just been creepy had it been just you and the kid.
Right. But yeah, it was funny.
Oh man, that's hilarious.
Saying, hey,
Dude, you gotta try this.
What is it?
It is called
Unspoken Trail American Whiskey. Woohoo! Rocket fuel.
No, it's
you
smooth.
brought it downstairs. Thanks, bro.
Yeah, smooth as shit.
It's pretty smooth for whiskey.
Yeah.
You know what it reminds me of? Grey Ghost.
Oh, I was looking for it. Yeah.
They don't have it anymore.
Yeah, I was like, there's this place called Wine and More.
Yes.
You ever been to one?
I've seen them. I don't know if I've been in one or not.
It's like a warehouse of alcohol.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like it's hard.
It's hard as in difficult. Is that what you're saying? Hard to do what?
Well, I mean, like obviously I can like abstain from the $100 bottles, but when you get to like the $30 to $50 bottles, like
I know.
There's a lot of them. So I bought.
I was like, I knew that was coming.
So I bought this one, and then I bought me a $13 bottle that I'm pretty sure is the Canadian version of whiskey.
Or isn't that just Canada Dry?
No, it's.
Wait, no, not Canada Dry. What's the Canadian whiskey called? Seagram's.
Seagram's, yeah.
No, this is more like Old Crow.
Oh God! Oh God!
of Canadian well whiskeys.
Oh my God!
I'm pretty sure I discovered that.
Shot of whiskey when I was 21.
That's what I drank.
Old Crow?
Old Crow.
Well, I bet you were drinking Jim Beam.
No, when you met me, it was Crown Royal.
Well, maybe I was drinking Jim Beam.
You were drinking Jim Beam. You were always the Jim Beam.
That's right.
I was always Crown Royal or Jack.
Oh yeah, I forgot. That was a long time ago. That was a lot of brain cells ago.
But yes, I do miss the Jim Beam Ghost, which I was looking for.
I know. We've talked about it before. It's just disappeared. I can't find it anywhere. I mean, I'm sure I could order it if I wanted to, but.
Yay! Jeff has joined.
Jeff's your hero. He sat up there and made all these pizzas.
While what I hear
That's
was
his
an
job.
argument was happening down here.
There was no argument.
There was no argument. I just had watched Star Wars.
Jay was just being instigating.
The first in 30 years for the first
New
time.
Hope.
A New Hope.
Yeah.
I just had some observations about how 1970s it is.
Well, I'm not going to dispute that.
None of that is in the movie.
At all.
Really?
Not even those colors.
I was going to talk about that because now we just got back from seeing The Batman.
Not even the colors.
And
like there's nothing bright blue or tan. There's nothing in the movie that are any.
everything is a
colors,
shade of gray,
whatever.
essentially.
Everything's great.
Everything's gray.
It's a
Or
black,
black.
and white movie, but in color.
Basically, yeah.
It's like, what is it, Will Arnett as Lego Batman? Only working black, or maybe really dark gray. That's pretty much what this was, black and dark gray. But I actually wanted to comment on that because now what my wife is looking at here is the Lego set. What's the title of that Lego set, Jay?
The Batman.
Batcave, the Riddler face-off.
There you go. Batcave, the Riddler face-off. Now, we already know the Riddler's the bad guy. Spoilers, for one thing. We where I know we'll get into the details later, but this Lego set, I bought this Lego set because I saw it at the store. There was like one left, and I looked online and they were reselling them for like $200.
Yeah.
And I was like, ooh, maybe I'll just resell it, or I'll keep it, or I'll whatever. Or I might come up with a light kit for it. I don't know. But I kind of dig it because I don't really have a DC headquarters. I've got the Marvel Avengers Tower over there, but I don't have anything for my DC characters. So I was going to use that. But I figured, okay, that must be a scene in the movie, as Lego tends to do. They tend to spoil things here and there. I remember the big deal was back in Civil War came out, they spoiled Giant Man, which is a set I actually have in the other room. So after that, I noticed Lego has been changing things. When Wonder Woman came out, they had a generic fight scene that turned out was in the movie, but no details were given away in the title. That doesn't even fucking come close to happening.
Nope.
No.
In fact, isn't there like a derelict Bruce Wayne on the front cover? Like there's one of the figures is bum Bruce Wayne.
Bruce Wayne Drifter.
Yeah, when
Yeah.
did that happen in the movie ever?
Drifter. He doesn't even have that nice of a hair
No.
cut.
No, he does not.
No. And I don't really. I mean. Yeah, it's. He doesn't even have like computers. He's got like a little laptop thing.
You know,
Yeah.
This,
Like.
looking at this just
He had the
makes me
laptop in the
wanna-
movie.
Yeah.
It makes me want to just make my own Lego sets. Maybe we've been watching too much Lego Masters, but I'm just like, I can do better by myself.
No. Yeah, I didn't understand.
That actually looks like a place you go to order sodas.
Like at the drive-in movie theater,
It's
the concession.
the Disneyland Avengers,
Oh god,
Pim.
Avengers Campus. Jesus Christ.
the where you order the
Yeah,
big
the
food.
Pim particle one. Pim's test lab,
That
test
kinda is
kitchen.
what it looks like.
I don't know. With the crappy, overpriced giant pretzels and chicken sandwiches that suck. Yeah, we're not going back to Disney for a while. But anyway, so we just got back from seeing the Batman, and Jeff, Earl, and Jason are all here, and Sam went with us, although she is not gracing us with her presence right now. She seemed to miss the point where I was asking her opinion on the way back. Mm-hmm. You know, well, you guys, your opinions or whatever, you guys are so different than me. I'm like, that's why we're asking you, because we want to know what your opinion is of the movie. But she basically generically kind of said, that kept her awake.
Yeah, she says
said
extremely
what?
too long.
It kept her awake.
But it kept her awake.
Which is something to be said, because I've been falling asleep at movies here and there. Well, at the theater, a few times.
Yeah.
I've fallen asleep at the theater.
Yeah.
So I didn't fall asleep at this, but that doesn't necessarily mean it was exciting.
3 hours of non-exciting.
Well, we'll get into it.
Like, there was a flash scene that just gave me epilepsy for.
Oh, the muzzle flash scene? I'll give that scene.
I was thinking of the driving scene.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll say this. Just as an aside, start with the good stuff. I dig that the Batmobile is a muscle car. Fucking dig it. That was awesome. I wish I could have got some better shots of it. Don't be wrong, the 1989 Batmobile, hands down, #1 for me ever. But, and the Tumbler's cool, and even the 66 one, it's a neat old car. But this thing was a GTO on fucking crack.
What you're saying right now is going to lead into what I was talking about earlier that I mentioned to her upstairs.
I felt it ruined it for me by the end, but I really felt that this was Joaquin Phoenix's Joker's Batman. I felt that's what this was. Of course, at the end they fucked that up, but because clearly that wasn't Joaquin Phoenix.
No.
At the end, although they didn't say it was the Joker, it was pretty clear what it was.
Actually, if you look at it,
When he... Go ahead.
What?
to me, he looked more like Two-Face.
Mm-hmm.
I could see that a little bit. Maybe a
image,
fake out.
The image that they were kind of flashing through.
Talking out the side of his mouth.
Yeah.
And you could kind of see there was like
The
difference.
teeth kind of went too high, which would make you think Joker, but yeah, I could see that. And I hope that's the case, because I would love to see a rated R Batman film with Joaquin as the Joker. And Pattinson, okay, as the Batman. On a negative note, though, and we'll move around after this. On a negative note, though, that skinny bastard took his shirt off. You can't fucking pay me enough money to assume he's Batman. There's no fucking way that string bean is Batman. And he moves around like he's carrying 100 pounds, which I'm sure he is, actually. If that suit is realistic, it is 100 pounds of shit you're carrying around, as we all know.
look like he's all big and muscly?
No.
And
Nope.
then he
No.
takes
He's
it off?
tiny. He's twinkly tiny. He looks like he fell right out of fucking Twilight.
let me
Even
put
in
it
the
to-
Batman suit, he looks tiny.
Let me put it to you this way.
Well, no, it's actually
So-
armor. It's really armor.
All the bullets that are being shot at him, I'm sure 3/4 of them missed because he was that skinny. So maybe 25% hit him.
Again, shoot him in the face.
Well,
Because that domino mask he was wearing under his cowl, that was just leather. There was nothing special about it.
and then with their sniper rifles and like up close, like I'm like,
Yeah.
that shotgun should be right here.
Yeah,
He's
or
the
the
first-
explosion for that matter.
He's the
Oh my
first,
gosh, that.
Okay, we'll get to that in a
explosion
second.
He's the first Batman I've seen with a flat nose, and then it comes in.
Yeah.
I've seen some artists draw him that way, but yeah.
I've never seen it.
Oh, okay.
Not like that. I was just like, okay. Usually
So-
it's all.
While I eat my second piece of pizza, Earl,
No.
are you ready to eat something? Are you ready to talk? Why don't you go ahead and give me your 2 cents, because I know you probably have some more positive things to say than these two do.
How do you know I have positive things? to say
He
about
came
it?
into this thing
Because you're
with
more,
negative.
let's say,
annotation.
diplomatic. Than these guys
Agreed.
are. Yeah,
Diplomatic.
diplomatic.
2 hours, the movie was pretty much done. That last hour, I didn't need to have. And a lot of the people that have been talking about this movie, that's the consensus, is they didn't need the full 3. Most of this movie could have been wrapped up in the 2 hour mark. There was something said about when you talk about like Christopher Nolan,
Mm-hmm.
that this is not my quote, but I'm going to share it. Matt Reeves, he took us into Batman's world visually. So basically, what would Batman's world be today? I actually, when I heard that, I was looking out for that watching this movie. I totally agree. So we got to see Batman's world. They brought Batman's world to us, cinematographers, you know, and what would be in reality. What's real? Directorial standpoint. Not enough Bruce Wayne. Too much Batman, but I think they were trying to go more of a year 1, year 2 arc.
I felt that a little bit too, yeah.
Yeah, early on in his Batman career where it was all more Batman. And that's where I looked at, I think I looked at you when they made the statement of, why don't you're being Batman's your real, that's not your mask, that's real you, which is true. Because if you think about Bruce Wayne has always been the mask. He hadn't gotten to that point now in this movie. So I think this was trying to portray early on Batman without going through all the origin backstory, thank God,
Thank goodness.
for that, you know, but him young in his career. So
I do like the origin backstory that they came up with.
Of what, a Batman?
You went to the bathroom when they said,
Yeah, the dead reporter.
well, his mom was crazy. And
yeah,
We'll get to that,
in
yeah.
this case, there was a little more to it. You know,
Okay. I was going to ask you, I did miss something.
I mean, she still got killed in the same incident, but they didn't have to rehash it. They didn't have to show the pearls again for the 19th millionth time. So from that standpoint, get it. I was not in love with this movie, but I see the direction they were going with. But for the love of God, you ruined one of my favorite fucking Nirvana songs by playing it over, and over and over again.
All right, riddle me this, Batman, though. How many times did they say rat?
Oh yeah.
Next time I watch it, I'm going to count the number of times they say rat.
Yeah.
we're not making that a drinking game.
Holy shit, we'd
Like
be
the
dead.
Like
The
rodent?
word
Yes.
rat, R-A-T,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
rat.
Constant.
Again and again
And
and again.
Like
different
they're
versions.
calling
Oh,
people
yeah,
rat?
taste that.
It's hard to explain, but it's like, it's the MacGuffin. The rat is the MacGuffin of the entire movie.
Yeah.
That's good.
As far as Robert Pattinson playing Batman, I could see it, but it didn't do it. It really didn't do it for me. I liked Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman.
She was definitely better
I
than
think she
him,
did a
yeah.
really good job. I liked Colin Farrell playing the Penguin. I thought he did a good job.
Wow, that's so weird. You can't see him
Can't
at
see
all.
At all.
But still,
It's amazing.
I liked Jeffrey Wright playing Commissioner Gordon. I liked that Commissioner Gordon a little bit.
Oh, what's his name in Bond? I forget. He's the American agent in the Bond movies. But Felix
Yeah.
plays Felix in the Bond movies.
Would I go see this again? unfortunately, I'm probably going to have to see it again because
Good luck.
yeah, it was just. I felt like it was way too long. I felt like it did everything they needed to do, show the corruption, and not have that last.
When I saw Lord of the Rings, I enjoyed the hell out of it the whole time in the theater and was excited to see the extended version at home because, of course, I'd read the books. That said, I've read Batman and we, as many of us have, for the last 40 years. And you're right. I couldn't wait for this to fucking end. It's like, holy shit. All right, Jeff? That's your deal? Okay. Jeff, you go ahead.
Thank you. Where was I in my head? Let's see. I fell asleep twice in it, woke up, and was not lost.
Caught up.
The movie did go on extremely too long. You're correct. It could have toned it down a little bit.
A detective movie, and leave it at that.
I found myself thinking of a lot of other things while this movie was going on. Like, what am I going to say? Who's going to cook the pizza? It was me.
The same amount of popcorn.
But the biggest concern I had going forward in America is we're being pushed down this electric car thing. And tonight I thought, son of a bitch, how are we going to hear these cars in the movies when I fucking love that V8 sitting up on there screaming the muscle? And you brought it up, but that's exactly what I was thinking when it comes to the car was great. I enjoyed all the actors, with that being said. But we're running down a path of, again, DC. This is probably the worst Batman, but it's not the worst DC movie. When you looked at me, Jason, was when, in the middle of the climactic scene, they decided to pause for a kiss.
Oh, yes.
Well, that's what I got up to
Yes.
pee. Yeah.
And I was... he
oh, no,
looked
that
at
was
me.
the deaf one. That was the second one, yeah.
Yeah, he looked at me. This was towards the end,
Yes.
and I just was shaking my head. I'm like, well,
Yes,
DC stupidity all over again.
Mm-hmm.
They put in bad moments during moments that you're supposed to be, okay, oh, we're going to kiss? I'll wait. Okay, back to the fight. It was, again, stupidity at its another level.
There's sexual tension there.
I didn't feel like there really was
Well,
any.
I mean, implied.
Implied, yeah, I didn't.
But it didn't work.
I felt they were a hit it and quit it couple right then and there because I didn't see no long term relationship happening because I wasn't feeling it. They did say rat a lot. I thought it was, I don't know. It was not good, but it's not the worst DC movie by far. But it's not anywhere near the top either. And I really don't have much more to say other than that when we start creeping through all the little bits and pieces. But again, when it comes to my biggest concern, I'm concerned about car chases in the future with electric versus petrol.
Fuck you!
Well, because remember when we were watching this Batmobile, I mean, there's full-blown muscle.
Oh, damn.
And I that's a minute, I was like, uh-oh.
The rumble.
We're about to
Great.
have a bad future when it comes to cool car chase. Fast and Furious, Electric Fury. What's going to happen? I don't get it. So that's all I'm saying.
All you're going to have is a panting gerbil under the hood.
Yeah. So
Trying to keep up. The car chase is pretty the best part of the movie.
yeah, most of the engine sound was what kept me awake. I was like, here we go. Oh, and then we went back
And
to sleep.
the burst through the flame. You know it's coming.
Yeah.
But it was still objects in the rearview mirror may be closer than they appear. And it was very Jurassic Park too. The
Correct.
T-Rex and the whole roar as it came out of the flames. Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
Well,
They popped the clutch and killed it.
Oh yeah.
and the way they used the mirrors and stuff, and like only the side windows, it was very.
I love the look on Penguin's face when he was shooting and an Uzi. It was so great to see an Uzi too, by the way.
Oh yeah. Oh.
But he's shooting the shit out of the Batmobile, and Batman's literally just driving and watching him like this. Bullets hitting the fucking glass, and Oz looks and goes, "Fuck!" Just can't take it.
Or this. Cha-ching. Cha-ching.
We'll get to that in a second. The penguin walk, but did you have Okay, so just as a basis for comparison, you think it's the worst Batman movie,
I do.
even with Batman and Robin?
No, that was pretty bad. You're right. You're talking about with Arnold Schwarzenegger and
Yeah.
that was probably the worst one.
Okay. Now,
That's so bad. I actually forgot about that one. So
but yeah, true. But okay, that said, so I'm just kind of getting a litmus test here. But not the worst of the DC movies. I assume you mean the modern DC movies.
the newer ones, yeah.
Personally, I think it's better than Dark Knight Rises, but I hate Dark Knight Rises. But what do you think is worse than this in the modern DC movies?
The first not Avengers. What was it? The first before he went and remade it or did the whole Zack Snyder cut.
Oh, the Justice League. Justice League.
Yeah, that was right up there with one of the worst ones. Oh, the Wonder Woman. God, that was so bad too.
The second Wonder Woman was terrible.
Terrible.
First one's great.
Well, I'm curious where this particular one fits into the whole.
It doesn't.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Are they starting the whole thing over, or is this just a side project?
DC has always been better at single or double films of the same character or the similar director. It worked with Donner and Star Trek. Superman 1 and 2, the original Donner version. It worked with Nolan for the most part, although that third one... People loved it. I don't understand why it's so bad.
You weren't born to it. You weren't.
I guess. But I did find myself, most of this movie, comparing it to The Dark Knight Rises. Or no, to The Dark Knight with Joaquin Phoenix. Or not Joaquin. Heath Ledger. With Heath Ledger. I found myself comparing it to that all the time. Because for me, in my brain, just automatically, that's the best one. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm always going to pick 89 Batman. But as far as just watching it and loving it and enjoying the performances and everything else, The Dark Knight's the best Batman movie, in my opinion. And I kept comparing this to that, and it kept falling short.
Oh, yeah.
Jay? Now, Jay did say something. Are you going to start with that?
I'm going to start with that.
Okay.
So this is called Rum Rants. We started this show, about 8-9 years ago?
Not quite that long ago, about
and
6.
I am drinking Unspoken Trail American whiskey. Rob, he's drinking Captain Morgan. Private Black Stock Rum. We started the show. 9 years ago, we started the show based off the premise that I asked a question.
What is Batman?
No. It's dumber than that.
The question is, if everybody wears rubber suits and rubber is an insulator, why does everybody get shocked all the time?
He was referring to a conversation we had in a diner right before a convention, the first convention I took Jay to, where he decided to have this loud conversation. Which diner was this?
This was a little breakfast house in Gresham.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember the name of it, but
It's relatively famous. I'm surprised you can't. I can't remember it.
yeah, it's like McGrath's or something. I think.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But we very loudly asked me this very question while sitting there, and the entire room, of course, could hear us talking about it.
Very small room.
And we had this debate back and forth about why he constantly gets electrocuted. My answer was dramatic storytelling. So, we go to the convention.
Now, everybody in the restaurant was also staring at us having this conversation.
Which is where we came up with the idea for the show. Kinda.
So we go to the convention, and, have a beer. Now it starts because I'm making...
You notice they don't serve alcohol at conventions anymore?
No, I did not notice that. It's very sad. Why don't we go now? But we finally get to, this display that has this elaborate Batman costume. And there's 4 or 5 guys talking about the Batman costume.
In fact, it's a company that makes custom
Yes.
cosplay Batman costumes.
So, I posed the question to these 3 or 4 gentlemen. Hey, if Batman's suit is made of rubber, how come he gets electrocuted all the time? Because rubber is an insulator. Keeps you safe. Oh my God, the grenade I just threw out. Because there was debates here and there, and how can we get
People showed up.
electrocuted? And like people were gathering to be part of this. And I just kind of stepped back about 3.
Well, when he stepped back, I actually had stepped in to make a comment. He grabbed me by the arm and said, no, wait for it.
Wait for it.
So that's how that started.
So tonight was the first time where he actually used the rubber of his suit as being an insulator for electricity. And I'm like, finally, after 400 years of Batman,
they finally
they
explained
finally figured it out.
what's the good of the rubber suit and the electricity. Yes, and as soon as you said it to me, I said, that's right. We've been asking that question for a long time now.
That was my first observation in coming to comic books and things.
So that said, what's your general impression?
Well, after the first 10 minutes, I turned to him, but he wasn't paying attention to me. And in my brain, I was like, I'm going to love this movie. And I liked it. What I thought of a lot was not Christopher Nolan, was not 1989. And towards the end especially was the series Gotham.
Yeah, I kept comparing to that too.
Gotham was great every other season. It was one of those, like, first season was great, second season was like,
I tend to think that besides Will Arnett, that's kind of your favorite Batman story is Gotham. You mentioned it a lot.
Gotham is great because it's got great characters, great backstory. It's where you're really introduced into, like, Falcone and some of the other gangsters and things like that. Selena Kyle was, like, kind of the same age towards that. But the other part is at the end of Gotham, they destroyed the city just like they did in the movie. They used a natural disaster, destroyed the city, and everything became a blank slate, and then everybody had to start fighting for power again. Like, the Penguin had to start fighting, and it was almost exactly the same way they did it. Like, of course, they did that in one of the Batman movies where they...
Well, Cataclysm was a comic series that they kind of did that too.
So to me, it was like the extension of that, because if you saw the progression of Bruce in that, you could totally see.
Let's just be clear, Gotham, Bruce is a kid.
Pattinson
becoming that.
Yeah.
That, you know, you can make that clear connection between the two.
Yeah.
The other comparison that I came is last night. I was like, okay, I got to prep for this movie, and I watched one of the animated movies, Bad Blood.
Oh yeah.
And where I could see this Robert Pattinson, and I'm hoping maybe they could introduce Damien Dark into it, because that is the Batman that I see in those animated. Is because he's also skinnier, he's also more dark, he's also more depressing, and he's also more kind of that loner, don't want to deal with society, emo, whatever,
pushes everybody away, even Alfred in this
type thing. So those were kind of the two that I was comparing this to, was Gotham and that Batman. Now I've got to see more of that animated series, because I know there's like 4 movies. There's Bad Blood, and then there's another one.
There's the Damian Wayne ones, and I won't get into that. But the animated movies are really good, but they're long.
Yeah.
A lot of them.
Yeah, I was gonna watch 2 last night, but that did not happen.
That did not happen.
But those were what I was comparing this Batman to, is both of those characters.
I do want to point something out, though, that it did occur to me. At one point, I actually compared this to Lego Batman. And the reason I did is because when he barks at Andy Serkis, who plays Alfred, and basically says, "You're not my dad." You know, he kind of gives him the "you're not my dad" thing. And it just was straight up Lego, "What would you know about having a kid?" You know, that kind of thing. And I'm like, because even in the Lego movie, I'm like, that's really mean. You know, like, really kind of buzzed me out. But this did the same thing. I was like, oh, that's really, you're a dick. You know, why the hell is he putting up with your shit? I think Andy Serkis was criminally underutilized in this movie.
Yeah, yeah.
The man, I'm in the middle of listening to, Andy Serkis recently re-recorded all of the Lord of the Rings books. Just himself doing every character. And as much as I've reread and re-listened to and read the comics and everything of Lord of the Rings, hearing him do it was like hearing it for the first time. It was amazing. And even though I know the story backwards and forwards. So he's just outstanding. He's outstanding in the Marvel movies. He's outstanding. Again, they killed him way too early as Claw. He was amazing as Claw. He was like my favorite villain in the entire MCU. And this, he just kind of shows up, chastises, leaves. Shows up, chastises, leaves. Shows up, kind of helps him figure out shit. Gets blown up, goes to the hospital. Like, what the fuck?
Snoops in the mail is what he did.
Yeah.
That's what you get.
Yeah, exactly. Did that have your name on it? No, it said the Batman.
Yeah.
Because you know Will Arnett would have said, "Now you know."
Yeah.
He comes to, and fucking first thing that Bruce says is, "You lied to me."
Yeah, what a dick.
Not. Hey, how you doing, bro? You doing okay? Yeah,
Slap the shit out of him, spoiled little bastard.
I mean, he could have commented on his face. Your face looks terrible. And while we're at it, you lied to me.
Your eyeliner's running. They did address the whole black eye thing, by the way, which they tend to. Bye, babe. Bye. Amber's like, "This is getting too geeky for me. I'm getting out."
Got the basics.
Yeah.
Got the gist.
Got the gist. I will never try to make you watch this film. Let's put it that way. There's nothing you would enjoy about it.
Sounds good.
Sometimes there's a superhero movie comes along like Amber might like. I'm like, oh, she might like Guardians of the Galaxy, or she might like Agent Carter, which she did. This is not one of them. Huh? Oh. Yeah, she did. But yeah, when I started comparing it to Dark Knight and Lego Batman and Batman '89 and in every category it fell short. Now that doesn't mean I hate the film. I don't hate it. I will give it credit for being different than every other Batman film to start. And I will say, though, that I was kind of writing notes in my head, but my notes did change as time went on. I felt like at the beginning I was going to say something to the effect of, this is the weirdest fucking Batman movie I've ever seen, and that includes Batman Ninja and Batman 66. Those are fucking weird. So, but then it occurred to me. There are three, in my opinion, there are three basic kinds of Batman. Very basic, very broad generalizations. There's the Justice League Batman, which ranges from Super Friends to Ben Affleck. There's the Dark Knight Batman, the Frank Miller, the Christian Bale, and Affleck to a point, Batman. And then there's the World's Greatest Detective, which they really hardly ever hit on in the live-action films or TV shows.
That's what more
this is definitely... And I also got some vibes of Arkham Asylum, the video games, in there. With the visual stuff, the recording things with your eyes, there was a lot of long pauses. It was very noir. And noir's cool. I dig noir. I kind of dig noir in the black and white kind of 40s kind of way, not really in modern stuff. Occasionally you'll get something like Gangster Squad or LA Confidential that are just awesome. But yeah, I kind of feel like they beat one that to death a bit too much. That said, I never was convinced for a second that Pattinson could beat up a room full of people. I was never convinced for a second he could be standing in a fucking cell surrounded by 20 cops and keep them all at bay. No. I don't care how much Felix was covering him. Those fuckers would have tore him apart. Now, I could see Bale getting out of that shit. Yeah. And in fact, I kept comparing that scene to the scene with the Joker in the cell with the guy who ends up beating him up and then, ends up triggering everything. I was like, that was done way better. Nolan did that so much better than that scene. That said, the things I liked about it, again, I said the muscle car. The muscle car was really cool. I did enjoy some of the back and forth between him and Gordon. I felt like you kind of felt like you stepped in the middle of an episode. Like, oh, hey, these guys know each other, and they have a history, but not too long of a history, so it doesn't take a lot of explanation. They just say things a couple times, like, oh, it's been 2 years. At least 3 times they said, like, it's been 2 years.
Right.
So I did the same thing. I said, okay, so this is after year 1. This is in the year 2 category, kind of. And year 2 was a Halloween murder thing, the Reaper, in the comic books, so I kind of got that. I felt some year 1 stuff put in there because if you look at Frank Miller wrote The Dark Knight. He defined what The Dark Knight is, but then 2 years later he wrote year 1, and year 1 is very much more detective than Dark Knight. Dark Knight is very big, and I'm going to kick your ass. Yeah. And they kind of strayed away from that. I just felt like, kind of like watching Tom Cruise on screen. Tom Cruise is like, what, 3'2"? I don't know how he's fucking tiny. But they make him look like he's 6'5". Mm-hmm. They did the same thing to Pattinson. Now, Pattinson,
you're right. I noticed it too.
Yeah, and of course they cast Zoe Kravitz, who's 3'2", and put Pattinson next to him, and we could probably walk up and pick them both up like action figures and put them on the table. It just, I couldn't buy it. I couldn't buy him being as Batman. Plus, he had a severe lack of swinging. That's like Spider-Man with no webs. Like, he did it a couple times, especially toward the end. And I did love how he speared the guy with his grapple and pulled him into the thing. Yeah, that was funny. But Keaton did it better in '89. Yeah. I just kind of felt like I'll probably never watch this one again.
Well, it was funny when he jumped off the building. It was like the first time he's ever done it.
Yes.
Yeah, that was very like telling like he's like, this is new tech. He's never used this before.
Wingsuit don't fail me now.
Yeah.
He had realistic tech too.
Yeah, it was realistic, but I think that goes back to the fighting thing because he looked more like he didn't look like he had like a lot of training. He looked like in Alfred, like, I trained you to fight. Like, he was trained like a boxer. He was trained like a fighter. He wasn't trained like go back to some of the cartoons or go back to Christopher Nolan where he was trained in
like a ninja,
monk style or whatever.
Yeah.
No, because
he's more of a brawler.
He did get his ass kicked twice by the cops. He got his ass kicked by the.
That felt very Daredevil to me a little bit.
But yeah, so he got his butt kicked. Although he took a blast to the face and then a concussion to the head by a freaking bridge, and that didn't phase him at all. But getting his ass kicked by like 3 or 4 guys, that totally just.
You're gonna get in the military with concussions, though. I'll tell you that now. So
okay, we'll get to that in a second.
When he walked into the room with those cops, you're right, and I forgot. I did think about this. I thought, is he wearing Gene Simmons shoes right now? Because he is head and shoulders above everybody in that room.
I know.
When he walked, and I literally was like,
high-heeled bat boots.
is he that tall? In real life? I'm like,
No.
there's just no way. Because his shoulder came up to like the tallest dude in that room that he walked in at one point.
In fact, they shot it in a way that made every cop look diminutive next to him,
Yeah.
which makes sense
Well, I mean, they're
from
New
a
Yorkers.
Batman point of view.
They're New Yorkers, probably underfed anyway.
New Yorkers.
But
I will say this is the first time Gotham looked like New York, although it had some aspects of Chicago too.
There was a couple scenes where I was like, well, that's just straight up New York, but they
Like Times
filled it with a
Square.
bunch of screens. And you're right, I could see they were actively going out to not show anything anything beyond that one moment, the Times Square of New York. Like there was that one where he's riding his motorcycle on that curve.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, that's new. So they're definitely trying to find new.
They're establishing a geography.
which explains what you were talking about.
They brought Batman's world to us and made it more real.
Yeah.
I'll agree with that.
Versus,
Like, what if you took a comic book and made it real?
correct versus what Christopher Nolan did? He just
He made a real world Batman.
real world Batman.
Yeah.
You know.
Now, I do feel that he missed. This Batman was different in that he missed some of the pageantry. I mean, you go from 66 all the way through Nolan. Yeah, the degrees of pageantry versus it's like the Crazy Hot scale. The degrees of pageantry versus the degree of grit.
Yeah.
And you get to this one and it's super grit and no flashy at all.
Yeah.
I'll give you this though. His cape was the right length to a degree. It seems like all the capes are way too long. And this one was like to his knees. Like, all right, yeah, it's the capris of a cape.
Yeah.
But then, as they're dragging him along on the catwalk by his cape, the only thing I could hear in my head was The Incredibles, no capes! No capes! You know, that's the only thing I could hear in my head. And I'm like, oh, okay. But that's just it. The things that happened in the movie kept making me think of other films. And not in a good way. More in a mocking way.
Mm-hmm. I thought a lot of it. And again, some of the stuff I was comparing it to weren't even superhero movies.
Yeah.
Like I said, as stupid as this sounds, that car scene is the one thing I was like, I completely went off on a different track, and because it had me thinking of a variety of things. But this movie, yeah. Again, I didn't hate this movie, but it definitely was not a, thank God I went and saw it in the theaters movie. It was dark as hell. They've definitely put some shades on those lenses when they were filming this thing. So
a movie, for me, it has to have a arm hair raising moment. A superhero movie has to have that. The comedies and stuff, they don't need that. But the superhero movie definitely has to have that. And some have it to varying degrees. I'm going to give you an example like Iron Man 1. When he puts the suit on for the first time, he hasn't painted it yet, goes and takes it out, and fucking hauls ass. And you're like, oh, this is awesome. You can feel the hair on your arm stand up. Avengers had several of those things. A lot of the MCU stuff had. But even back in the DC, the scene where Christopher Reeve catches the helicopter. In Batman, the scene where he's basically flying down in the Batwing, just shooting the shit out of everything. And you're like, oh, this is fucking great, you know? I never had that in this. Even with the car scene, as cool as the car scene was, I didn't go, oh yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I never did that the whole time.
Yeah.
And
this movie didn't get your blood
no,
going.
no.
it almost felt like even if they wanted your blood to boil, they were going to quickly stop it because they quickly downplayed the next scene.
And on that
Quickly.
note, let's get to the adrenaline. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Is it now for a split second? Did you think Venom? Now, don't get me started. I'm not talking about Venom Marvel.
Yes.
I'm talking Venom DC.
Yes.
Okay. Do you guys remember Bane?
Mm-hmm.
Bane, of course, in the terrible Christopher Nolan movie, but in the comics, he took a drug called Venom that made him is basically a super steroid, made you super. And in the Arkham games, they used it too. But that story actually originated a few years earlier in Batman, like just before I started reading Batman, or in a series I wasn't collecting at the time. He created or found this drug, Venom, that made him stronger, but it also made him crazy. And I felt like that was at least a reference to
Maybe
it.
it was.
But it was clear it was adrenaline. Like,
Yeah.
all I could think was Crank. Like, that movie Crank.
Yeah,
Clank,
yeah.
And I love how he had his ejector built into the side of his suit. That was awesome. And I want to say something about the suit really quick. The suit was the most practical suit I've ever seen in any Batman movie. He had flares. He had stakes. He had, of course, his grappling stuff. He had, all this is real world stuff. We could build this suit with every gadget he has. Even if you look at Nolan, the wing thing with the put electricity through it makes the wings stick out. Yeah, it looks cool, but is that real? Like, is that a thing?
He literally had fucking riot gear.
Exactly. Everything in Batman's suit in this movie was absolutely recreatable. You could totally make that suit with every gadget it has. And it still didn't save it, unfortunately. But I that's a compliment for the...
What do you guys think of this version of the Riddler?
Okay. This version of the Riddler.
I had a hard time.
Versus what version of the Riddler?
Okay, let's not go Jim Carrey right now.
No,
Jim Carrey's it's an unfortunate side note.
I know.
No,
The
just
Riddler of the
just
comics.
the notion of Riddler. Just the notion of who Riddler was supposed to be and what he was within the DC universe.
Oh, he was a Joker knockoff in the comics originally. He was a Joker knockoff, but they made him into a very different kind of character. In fact, when just before the New 52 started, when Final Crisis was going on, the Riddler made a very drastic character change. He kind of gave up his villainy and became a master detective, almost on the level of Batman. And he became kind of this information broker, and he was a really cool character. And I think sometimes some writers can write him really cool. And in some kind of darker comics, he's been kind of more like he is in this movie, but better. They kind of made him Jared from Subway. Like, this creepy pederast fucker, which is funny because we're going to get to, what's his name, who plays Falcone in a second. But he seemed like a creepy pedophile guy. What I loved about this Riddler, though, was his use of, let's just call it what it is, fucking TikTok.
Yeah.
That's what it was. It wasn't YouTube. It wasn't this. It was a reference to TikTok. It was a reference to the crazy subhuman, in my opinion. Part of the big reason I left Facebook, that whole genre of social media that's going on right now, the darker. When social media started 15, 20 years ago, it was like, oh, this is cute. It was MySpace, even Facebook. Oh, it's cute. Instagram, I still dig Instagram. Oh, posting pictures. But it's gotten so dark and so dangerous.
What are you on Facebook?
Dude, when my Facebook finally got deleted, it's because it got hacked. I was like, I wasn't even using it anymore. The only reason I even existed was to keep my my instant messenger. But then when it got hacked, it's like, fuck, I just deleted the whole thing.
I think this was more dark web referencing.
Yes, dark web. That's a good way to put it.
So on the way down here today, I mean, traffic was all slow and almost stopped because the Proud Boys were on a bridge over the freeway, and I'm like, oh my gosh, go away.
Yeah, you're in my way.
But I mean, you're right. It's like, that's how these groups find each other create their own little subgroups in whatever.
This is definitely a comment
on that. What do you say? That he had only 500?
500, but think about it. In a city, 500 people cause a lot of fucking damage.
Right.
What were you just telling me about 30 people in Africa?
Yeah. So, I mean, that kind of brought that to real.
Yeah. There was a lot of social commentary in this. Now, Jeff, was that the point when you turned to Earl, you got mad about it? Was that the electric car thing? Was that your issue? There wasn't anything?
No, that was me laughing in my head.
Okay.
I had all kinds of jokes about that. No, the him looking at me was the kissing during the climax. It's exactly what happened in the Justice League when Superman was out there fighting, and then the music changed, and you had to remember Lois. And I'm thinking to myself, why?
Spider-Man on his web hanging upside down.
Yeah, but he wasn't just in the middle of a brawl.
Yeah. Literally, in the middle of a brawl, he gets knocked loose. Here comes Catwoman, and I'm going to give you...
Hi, now's the time, of course.
Now back to battle.
I also feel like
you literally looked at me at that moment. You went like this.
Yeah, I did.
And I was shaking my head because he's right in the middle of shaking my head.
I made the comment earlier about Daredevil. I feel like Daredevil did it better.
Yeah.
Now, that said, I loved the muzzle flash scene. The muzzle flash fight scene.
Oh, yeah. You're talking Daredevil, the TV.
TV, not Ben Affleck. Sorry, let me just want to make the Netflix.